This video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you need a website or domain, check out squarespace.com. Hey everyone, and welcome to a new video. One of the greatest developments in Lightroom Classic in the last several years has been the development of masks. The ability to pick out parts of the image and process them independently of the rest of the photo is literally game-changing. We used to spend hours painting masks on, which we can now do with a click. Well, almost. While applying masks usually works very well, sometimes we get artifacts and mistakes in masking that are frustrating to fix or that take a long time. So in this video, I'm going to share my top fixes for bad mask artifacts. If this has ever frustrated you, you're going to want to see this one. And if you stay till the end, I'll give you the trick I use to get rid of the dreaded edge halo, like here to here. My name is Simon D'Entremont, and I'm a professional nature and wildlife photographer living in Eastern Canada. I make weekly videos giving you photo tips or taking you behind the scenes for nature photography. Subscribe if you want to see more. Okay, what are we talking about here? I already have a video on making masks in Lightroom Classic. You can see that here, so I won't repeat it all. But in short, Lightroom Classic can, at the touch of a button, create masks for subjects, backgrounds, skies, or even gradients. Then when you apply an effect, it only applies at the masked area. Great. But these masks, while super helpful, sometimes don't do a perfect job. So we need to refine them by either adding to them or subtracting from them. Here are 5 scenarios you will eventually come across at some point and how to fix them. I call this one the Radial Gradient Adjustment Tool. Let's look at some photos. Mine are wildlife photos. I'm a wildlife photographer, but this technique will apply to any type of genre that you may be photographing. Let's look at this photo. I've got some fighting zebras, love fighting zebras, out in Kenya last year. And what I want to do with this photo from a processing standpoint is just tame some of the bright background, I would say. So I'm going to start off with a linear gradient here. Apply it from the top. But I don't want to apply it to the zebras. I just want it to the background. So I'm going to go right click, intersect mask with background. There we go. And now I'm going to lower the exposure in the background. And look how cool that looks. But I can see a problem here. Check out what's happening here. We don't have a very good mask on the background because it's failed to mask the inside of the mouth of the zebra. So what are we going to do here? There's a few different choices. One might be, so when you have a mask, by the way, reminder, hit O to reveal the mask, and you can change the color of the mask here to, red, green, whatever you want. So you can add to the mask here, hit add, and a brush, and you might try to brush on some mask, but see what happens? We're covering up here over the mouth of the zebra, and then you can also see that it's not applying the effect equally here. You can see here that the strength of my spray is not the same as the strength of the effect in the background. So that's not really working very well. What could I do to have an effect that I can modulate a bit to match the background? And here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hit add. I'm going to hit radial gradient. And I'm going to use a radial gradient to add an effect. The reason this works is that I can adjust the gradient to have an impact on the part where I want to add some masking, and it's very adjustable. And I can adjust it this way by changing the feathering area, or I can adjust it by moving it. Now, of course, you're seeing here that it's overspraying here as well. So what I can do there is I will just use subtract again, take a brush with no feathering, and all I need to do here is just remove the overspray here, which I can do very quickly. Now, one of the reasons this works so well is that, number one, I've been able to modulate the amount of mask to match the background. But one of the better things as well here, if I go back to the whole image and I go back to my mask, let's say I want to adjust the exposure in my mask here to a different amount. Let's say I want to make it really dark. You'll notice here that it doesn't match anymore. Well, I can go here after the fact and move it around and adjust it. And the best part is the part that I subtracted stays at the same place regardless when I move around. So I can just take this and adjust it so that the amount that I apply can be adjusted to match what I need. Having an adjustable adjustment using these radial gradients is a great trick to refine a mask that's not covering the proper area. Let's look at another example. The next one I call the subtract from yourself trick. Here's the problem. Here's a drone shot I took here, some beautiful mountains in the background here in my native province of Nova Scotia. And let's say I want to try to do something with the sky here, maybe make those clouds pop a little bit more. So I'm going to create a sky mask. That should be easy enough, but we've got a problem. The sky mask here, which is showing in green, has included a lot of the mountain range here and the ocean as well that I didn't want in my mask. Now, the traditional way of doing this would be subtract, a brush, and then brush away all the errors. But I have an easier method, which is really counterintuitive. Right-click on the mask, intersect mask with sky. That's right, intersect with yourself. And look at this. It took away most of the overspray here. For some reason, when you ask Lightroom to intersect a mask with itself, in the second crack at it, it does a much better job than the first crack at it. So now I can adjust the sky, for example, add some clarity to those clouds, for example, without impacting the land. I'd like to thank the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. I built my own website using Squarespace and it was a breeze. A website is just a great way to have a professional place online where you can show off your work, your service, or your personal brand. Social media are often showing you or your work in short clips or thumbnail photos, and sometimes makes it difficult to monetize, as they may not want links to external sites. A website is a permanent home for you and your work and your brand, presented in galleries or on pages designed by you that show them off at their best. There are lots of useful templates, including ones for specific genres like photography, which is mine. Or if you're more daring and artistic, you can go outside the templates using the new AI feature called Squarespace Blueprint to help you personally curate your own build. It's also a great way to monetize your work by setting up an online store so you can take payments by credit card or PayPal from all over the world. And now with a new added feature of buy now and pay later with ClearPay and Afterpay. Go to squarespace.com to sign up for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Simon for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. My next trick is to use the Auto Mask Features tool. Here I've got some bee eaters I shot in Kenya, and what's gonna really make this photo pop is darkening the background. I shot them backlit with the open wings. Beautiful, beautiful scene. So I'm just going to crop this very quickly here. And what I want to do now is darken the background to make those open wings that are backlit pop. So I'm gonna create a background mask. And I can just darken the mask here, and look how that makes that pop. It just looks amazing. But there's a problem. The mask isn't perfect. You can see here around the edges of these branches that there are some spots that are missing. So what we're going to do now, we're going to hit Add, Select Object, and I'm going to lower the size of my selection area. I do that using the center wheel on my mouse. If you have a mouse with a center wheel, it's very helpful for this. Now you can paint an area roughly, and sometimes it will do a decent job here at filling in some areas. But the problem is you have to hit Add, Select Object, and do it again, and then Add, Select Object, and do it again. Every time you want to fill in a hole that's been missing, you've got to do it every time. So that becomes a bit of a pain. So the easier way is to hit Add and select a brush, and then make sure here you have Auto Mask on, because what happens is if you take a brush here and try to, fill in, the problem is you may overspray some areas and so on, and wherever you brush is going to apply that effect of adding to the mask. But if you hit Auto Mask, it will give you a little bit more flexibility. You can paint around here. You can see there that if I spray and I have a little bit of overspray here, it's not going to include it in the mask. So this gives you a little bit more flexibility in touching up your mask when you select the Auto Mask feature and you spray over and over again rather than using the select object, which you can do for these little blocks that are missing. So that's another trick. By the way, follow me on Instagram and Facebook and sign up for my email list to download my guide for shooting backlit for free. My next tip is around the lesser known box selection tool. Now this is a handy shortcut that for some reason people don't know about. When you're using the object mask, many of us know that you can paint over something to select it. Easy enough. But did you know there was another way? I've got this photo of a short-eared owl sitting on a post here. And for processing wise, I think what I'd want to do here, for example, is maybe select the background. I could darken the background a bit and add some clarity, and it'll probably make that snow pop. Look at that, that looks pretty good. But we've got this fence post that's pressure treated lumber in green. It really doesn't look good. I'd really like to select that. If we take a subject selection, it'll select the owl and the fence post, but really I'm looking to really select the fence post by itself is really what I want. So I can click select object, and right here, a lesser known tool right here is the box selection tool. And what I can do here is just make a little box around the object you want to select, and it can select it. So rather than painting, which works really well for complex backgrounds, if the background is simple and the object you want to select is simple, then just using the box tool. And now here, rather than the pressure treated lumber look that's green, I'll lower the saturation. I'll add some clarity to give some character to that post. And look, when I zoom up here on this post and I go and before and after here, I get some great character on that fence post. So that is an easy trick and easy to use. And by the way, if you're a wildlife photographer like me and you'd like to learn more about processing wildlife photos in Lightroom Classic so you can turn your photos from this to this and this to this, I have a whole course with 30 modules and 10 hours of video footage exclusive to processing wildlife photos. I'll leave a link below. And this final one is the one that it's been the hardest for me to deal with, the dreaded white subject edge. When you have masks that aren't perfect or powerful effects on the background like clarity or dehaze, you can get this white line along the subject edge. Like here, I've got an elephant in front of Mount Kilimanjaro in Kenya, and if I hit the before and after, what I did here was in the full bright sun, the mountain was really lost. I applied a strong dehaze and made the photo black and white here. But look at that white line that we can see along the edge. And when you back up here, you can really see it. It's really unattractive. So what do we do with that? I've developed something that I haven't seen anywhere else, so I think I invented it. Someone else may have also done it as well. I'll apologize if you already have. Is to create a brush, and we'll make it fairly small here, maybe with a bit more feathering. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to go down to the texture slider and slide that all the way down. Clarity down a little bit and sharpness down a little bit. Now the sharpness down a little bit is actually critical to get this just right, because when you go too far it doesn't look very good. And here we go. We're going to paint along the edge. And here I'm going to play with, if I take the texture slider, see if I move it back and forth, what I'm doing is to get rid of that line. So all the way down. And sharpness you have to be careful of here. You can play with it a little bit. Moving it down too far creates this kind of hazy edge that doesn't look good. And not using it leaves a little bit of white. So just take this down a little bit. And now you can paint on this line remover basically right here. You can see right here what it's doing here, basically removing, look at how well that removes that line. So if I go back up here and go to a hide reveal, you can see how it's taking that line out of there. Now another trick you can do, now that you've got this figured out, you may want to use this again in the future. So we're going to create a brush preset. So when we go all the way up here into our brushes, and where it says preset custom, we're going to click on that and go save current settings as new preset. And we're going to call the preset edge removal tool brush. We're going to create a new preset. So in the future, anytime you want to use this preset here, we can just go back to the masking indicator, create new brush. And here we're going to go to and find edge removal tool brush. And now we have our edge removal tool, which we can keep using over and over. If the effect doesn't work exactly how you want, the best thing to play with is to play with the sharpness. The texture, I'd always leave it down all the way as much as you can. And here on the sharpness, I would play with the sharpness to try to get it the way you want. Another thing you can do here is up here on the amount slider, you can reduce the amount of the effect of the brush. You can raise it to 100, but you can also go to 200. So you can actually increase above 100% the effect of your brush. So if you do that and then go back down here a little bit and play with the sharpness slider and get that edge corrected the way that you want. So here again, if we look at this brush that we've created here and the before and after, we've really taken that halo out. And this is hugely helpful because that edge halo is a real pain. So it's nice to have a technique to be able to solve it. I hope you can use these tips after your next outing to take your photos to the very next level. I know you can do it.